Hello folks, GWT here, westruther channel. I want to tell you, HughesNet internet service, along with all of the other internet providers, their installers can access your system for the NSA and the DHS and all the government alphabet soup gangs and mafia members for their surveillance systems. And all system employees, double agents, not all of them are double agents, of course, I don't believe, because some of them are good. I had a good person help me earlier today. They give the back door to the government programs and their surveillance systems to monitor your every action when you use your PC. And how they accomplish this, they do it with their cell phones, with their work phones that their employees provide them with, so they can test and communicate with the company. Some of them use their personal phones and write them off, but a lot of them have their phones provided to them by the internet, by their employer. And these systems of surveillance monitor every action when you use your PC. And once you're connected through their phones, you're forever on their cameras and forever on their speakers. And then too, their quantum supercomputers connect the EMFs to read your mind, just like that movie that had Tom Illuminati Cruise in it, and the movie was called Minority Report. And folks, y'all ought to be sure to try to find that movie Minority Report if you haven't seen it, and if you don't remember it, try to find it. It should be named Minority Report New World Order. That's what it should be named. But anyway, I was talking to HughesNet, my internet provider, about why my upload and download speeds are so slow, because they're below 1 megabyte a second, and they're supposed to be 25 megabytes a second for uploading, or for downloading anyway. Uploading I think is about the same thing, but I managed to speak to a second good person at HughesNet, a tech at HughesNet, asked me to disconnect some other device that is or was a connected device to my computer system, as other techs before this one had asked me and insisted on that I had another device that was connected to my internet service, and I kept telling them that I did not have any other device other than my desktop computer and my phone hooked to the modem, which is the property of HughesNet. And so I only had two things, and both devices work through their internet service. All tech agents with the technical issues are not to say much about devices that they can see but the customer denies knowledge of. So if they tell you you need to disconnect your other device or devices that's hooked to your internet service and you don't know that you have any, then just listen on, folks. And so anyway, if they don't think you have knowledge of another device hooked to your system, they are instructed and trained not to identify to you about devices you deny, because they are to assume that you are being monitored by surveillance and not to tell you about what they see and what they know. But this agent today told me, and the iPhone X turned out to belong to the installer, and the repairman, same thing. He's been back to the house twice for changing and trying to fix things which they cannot fix or will not fix. But anyway, when I talked to the installer and told him that the agent had identified an iPhone X as being connected to my computer, when I talked to him, he was miles away but still connected to my PC. And then the tech who first informed me about this said that he could not be connected to my PC through my Wi-Fi because of the distance between my place and his phone. It's way too far, is what I was told. It's way too far for Wi-Fi to connect to his phone to my service, and how else could that connection work? They asked me, how could that connection be when he was miles away and his cell phone was hooked to my internet service? And why would his phone be connected to my service? And since my data space was being used and stolen from me, what was the reason? All right, now explanation time. It's to cause me to assume that my internet provider or someone in their employee with their texts is silently robbing away my data space and causing very slow download and upload speeds with my service, even when all of their speed tests indicate to the troubleshooting techs that their service is in great shape and my PC isn't strong enough. I have 16 gigabytes of RAM and nothing else is running when I'm online anywhere, anytime, because I don't like intentionally laying my data out there, my personal stuff on my computer. I don't like for them to easily be able to access it by me having it open when I'm online, so I close everything out. Agents are trained to tell you that the problem is your PC. When your PC up and download speed test, when you use your own PC and do your own speed test, my computer indicates just as well as their speed test indicate that everything is up to speed and everything is operating fine. But when I actually try to upload or to download, I am below 1/10 of 1 megabyte per second, approximately 75 to 93 kbytes per second. That is 1/10 of a megabyte per second, and it's supposed to be about 25 megabytes per second with my plan, with my monthly plan. This, folks, this is to cause friction between the customer and the internet provider who thinks me a crazy man with a piece of shit computer. And this is in their agenda to psychologically confuse humans so they don't communicate very well, and they stir up emotions and cause two or more individuals not to be able to communicate calmly by doing all of this under the table stuff to me and to my data. They have stole gigabytes from me this month. Gigabytes. I let my computer set for 2 or 3 days and didn't even go online, and I lost gigabytes of data. How can you lose gigabytes of data when you're not, when the computer, my computer isn't even plugged up to the internet service? I'm on my computer and the internet is not on my computer. Now how can you lose that gigabytes, folks? You can't. It's an inside job, it's outside interference, and they're stealing my data to cause me anguish and frustrations and to make me mad. So I will jump on my internet provider, which makes no good for a relationship with my internet provider, and that's their game. That's part of their agenda. It's part of their game plan. This type of stuff that they do to people psychologically and physically, and to their machines, to their equipment, to their personal property, just like cops, they destroy your personal property. They have absolutely no regard for your car, your windows, your animals, your home, your property, nothing. This severely handicaps individualism and relationships between corporations, their employees, and the disgruntled customer. Psychological confusion is quite the mind control. And I'm going to tell you, I was talking with someone the other day. Now, bear this story. I was talking with someone the other day on the phone, on my HughesNet phone, the home phone is what I call it. That number is 573-609-8004. And I had just mentioned two of the biggest lies of humanity's time, and the call was dropped. Now you understand, I just verbally mentioned two of the biggest lies of all humanity's time, and the call immediately dropped. Okay, I got a text from that person about 30 minutes later. They texted me and they called back 4 times and twice it went to an automated answering service, which I do not have, and then they were told by an AI that the number was not a working number, and then a fourth call said the number was out of service, so they texted my cell, because they knew my cell, 541-295-0769. They texted my cell phone and told me that my HughesNet home phone wasn't working, and when I checked it, I got a dial tone. Now what I want to tell you is, this is an example of mind control. This is an example of psychologically confusing you, and this is part of the New World Order's agenda for humans. They do not want us to contact each other, stay in good communications with each other. They are taking the laws away to where people have no right to assemble, and they have no right to privately have conversations, because they're eavesdropping on every single thing you say. Even if your phone's turned off, if your battery's taken out, if your computer is turned off, if you're disconnected from the internet, you can unplug the modem or whatever your supply is to it, and they can still hear you through the electromagnetic frequencies of your smart meter on your house. Turns your whole house into a sending and receiving unit antenna. So when you're having a conversation sitting at your dinner table with every electrical appliance in your house turned off except your house current, they can still hear every word that you and anybody else. They can hear your dog bark or your cat meow. And I'll give you a great example of mind control. Take John. Take the book of John, chapter 20, verse 29. This is supposed to be Jesus talking now. And by the way, Jesus is the biggest name of all humanity, of all civil people's humanity. It's the biggest name of all time. Now most of you are going to say, oh, BS, I don't believe. Okay, well that's fine, because people are entitled to their own opinion. But that is the biggest, most renowned name of all time, and more than half of his life is disappeared. It's unaccounted for unless you research and find out that he went to monk monasteries and studied Hinduism and Buddhism and all these other isms until he could walk on water. Ninjas can run up a cinder block wall. Some of them monks can set themselves on fire and not burn up. They can pick up a dead bird and bring it back to life. These are psychologically, these are spiritually training, this is physical training, this is serious training that a human being can go through and learn to do things. There are some superhumans around right now. Folks, I wish I could be bulletproof. I would go out and start whipping ass. But now this example that I'm fixing to tell you is this. Jesus was supposed to have been quoted in the book of John, chapter 20, verse 29, and he says, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. But more blessed are they who have not seen and yet have believed. Faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for but not yet seen. Now I want to ask you folks a question. Not trying to pick a fight with you. Just a question. What's faith done for humanity in the last 5,000 years of history? Has it stopped the onslaught of these criminal and these evil people who are killing us with electromagnetic frequencies and forced inoculations and GMO foods and all of this other tainted medical and pharmaceutical industry, all of our supplies, the FDA that outlaws everything that is a good healer to your body, something that helps you retain your health, and they outlaw it. They exhume bodies that died from the bubonic and the black plague, and they culture those plagues, and then they stock up and store them in their laboratories. What are they storing? What are they exhuming bodies out of the ground who died of terrible diseases for? They killed enough of the Indians on the North American continent with these diseases, and they're killing people in other countries with their diseases and their rockets and everything else, folks. I'm going to tell you right now, and the goal of the New World Order's 5G, you don't believe. You don't want to believe, but you will believe later, and it won't be no 5,000 years before you see it come around and tear your butts up. So maybe faith will show some of the stupid fools a sign in history's next 5,000 years Where's the 1,000 years of reigning with Jesus Christ? Where's that? When's that fairy tale going to come true? Huh? How many more thousands and thousands, and how many more years, and how many more millions and millions of lives have got to die before the stupid people wake up and realize that that's another fairy tale that you're hoping and wishing for, which keeps you from putting buckshot in your shotguns, because they're going to kill you with the 5G electromagnetic frequencies. They have the super quantum computers that can read your mind. How many of you know about remote neural monitoring? That's what that movie with Tom Illuminati Cruise, he starred in that movie Minority Report. That's what that Minority Report, New World Order. That's what that movie is about. Remote neural monitoring. And you folks need to wake up. They are killing you, and they are going to kill you, and you're going to sit on your duffs and wait for JC to come back and make everything right. Well, just keep on waiting, idiots. And another thing, I started talking about the 5G some time ago, and when I first mentioned it, I said that it was a killer, and it was going to be able to kill millions of people in seconds, just dropping them right down to the ground. How many views did I get with that kind of material? Hardly nothing. Now, I know some of you people are sharing my videos out there, and I appreciate it. I believe you. When some of you say you're sharing them, you're putting them on another platform, I believe you. But it must only be about 1 or 2% of the real people, the live living human being people that's viewing my videos. It must only be 1 or 2% who is sharing my stuff, because I'm only getting a measly few hundred views on my material. But other people out here, they can mention 5G and they got 200,000 views. What's the difference? Is it the way that I say 5G? Or is it my face? What is the difference? If you're talking the truth, the bottom line, what 5G can and is going to do to you people, because to all of us, because nobody's willing to fight against it. You ought to see that big honcho with the FCC and the video where he is saying, we're going to put the 5G across the country and you better not get in our way. And then people are asking him questions. What about the health effects? And what about the negative parts of it and everything? And then he just turns and ignores them and then looks at someone else and says, darling, do you have a question? They avoid the questions. They are forcing it on the people. And you got to admit, your conscience has got to tell you, your common sense has got to tell you, they're forcing it on you, and you got no say, no argument, and nobody to go to bat for you the peaceful way. Nobody to go to bat for you the peaceful way that's going to make any difference. Now, what does that leave? That only leaves one thing. You got to take matters into your own damn hands and do something about it. I'm going to tell you, New World Order, please come and put one of your amplifiers in front of my house. Send out a crew and your truck, and you can install one of them right out here in front of my house. Please. Folks, one last little thing here. FCC Chairman, on June the 20th, 2016, the FCC Chairman is a former senior lobbyist, CTIA, in the FCC press conference on 5G in Washington, D.C., and Tom Wheeler says, new antennas, massive deployment of towers and amplifiers, and the amplifiers and the towers are going to aim the millimeter microwaves, of which there is no cover and no escape. Rural areas, all will be covered. There will be no place across the North American continent that you can avoid, and the profits of tens of billions of dollars is more important than life. Ultra high frequency radiation, enjoy. They call it national priority. He said, Tom Wheeler said, that 5G will not be studied for its effects on life. It will not be regulated and not debated and not discussed, and no one will be allowed to get in the way of the massive infrastructure and technological development and the deployment of the cell towers. Tom Wheeler orders American citizens to stay out of the way or die immediately instead of a little later from slow death cancers and other health issues that don't mean shit to the corporate elite. Folks, these corporate elite, they're Aryan, Nazi, lizard-loving, they're mean-ass, cruel-ass people. When I was a kid, we used to call people like that white trash. And the Grand Master of mayhem, genocide, and child trafficking, and perversion, the George Soros and his not-so-straight reptilian nephew, Mark Zuckerberg, and Trump. That's for you Trumpsters. And Trump, they're all bringing in the New World Order with a 5G. Happy trails to you, you fucking idiots. And Trumpsters. I saw a comment on that Tom Wheeler video, and that video is a 2016. It's called FCC, and Chairman on 5G. We won't study it. Just look that up. It's FCC Chairman on 5G. We won't study it. And the rest of the title will come up, but the rest of the title ought to be, because we already know how it can kill you. And we're going to use it. We're going to read your minds with our quantum computers, with that remote neural monitoring, and all of y'all who stand in opposition against the New World Order, we're going to take that 5G network and we're just going to snuff your asses right out. GWT, folks. And there's a real good comment on that video that somebody left. It's got something to do with a shotgun, and a Magnum shotgun, I think it says, and something about blowing somebody's head off. And but just remember, it's on that Tom Wheeler video that I gave you the name of. Starts with the FCC Chairman on 5G. We won't study it. Check it out. That's my kind of comment.